Welcome to Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking to you about the warning signs of a criminal. I think this is particularly important at this time because of all the things that are going on out there in the streets. Crime is rising, or it appears to be anyway, if you look at the news. And I just wanted to talk about some of the things, well, one of the things, the main thing in my opinion, that you can look for to tell if a person is still involved in criminal activity, or not to say involved in criminal activity, still thinking like a criminal. Let's say it like that, right? The number one warning sign of a criminal is lying. Now, let me clarify that for some of y'all out there, because I don't want you to think that I'm saying that everybody that lies is a criminal. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is this: when a criminal lies, that means they have an intent to harm, right? Does not necessarily mean that you have ever been convicted of a felony. That does not mean that you've ever been to jail or prison. You can have a criminal mindset, a criminal ideology that you live by if you lie with the intent to harm. Doesn't matter who you are. It can be the lowly person on the streets all the way up to the White House. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So let me get into the details of that and why that is something that I've come to understand and believe, right? Now, when a person lies, right, I'm gonna use me in the past. I'm gonna use myself, all right? Everybody wanna talk, I'm just gonna put myself out there. In the past, when I would tell a lie, it would be because I was afraid of something, right? I had a fear of something, fear of losing a friend, a relationship, a job, my reputation, something that I felt in fear of losing would cause me to lie about whatever the circumstances were, right? Now, that fear is attached to hurt. The hurt that I experienced as a child, the fear of rejection and all of those things after my mother's death, those things became prominent and dominant in my life. And I learned to cope with that hurt, that pain, by lying. One of the ways that I learned to cope with it. And I didn't face up to the reality of situations, right? If something was going on with me and I might have done something I didn't have any business doing, and I get confronted by my grandparents or somebody that in my family that I love, instead of me telling them the truth, I would lie about it. Why? Because I was afraid that I was going to be punished. I was afraid that they would reject me. I was afraid that they would be disappointed in me. Not realizing that that process that I was going through would have helped me if I would have just stood on and told the truth. I did this because of such and such. They probably would have been able to help me. And that's where we're at with a lot of people today that live and believe in the ideology that supports the criminal lifestyle. We're coming from a place of hurt. That hurt leads to fear. That fear leads to lying. That lying is something that you can focus on when you're trying to identify if somebody that you love is still involved in or about to get involved in some criminal activity. Again, I'm not saying that everybody that lies is a criminal. I'm saying that if you are lying with the intent of harming somebody, you are suspect. You are open to that criminal ideology. You may not have ever been to prison for it. You may have always been able to talk your way out of it and get away, but you support that mindset. You support that mindset. For example, a husband, if his wife asks, say, do I look nice in this dress? And the husband thinks she looks terrible in the dress, but he wants to spare her feelings. He says, no, baby, you look fine. He doesn't have any intent to hurt her. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not going to put that person that tells that type of lie in that criminal category. But someone that lies to manipulate and deceive, to get over and to hurt, that person I would put in that category. You know what I mean? For example, someone that goes to the bank, writes a check, knowing that they don't have the money in the bank, no matter what the hardship is, right? We all have hardships, but you don't have the money in the bank. You write the check knowing that you don't have the money to cover it, so you can get some groceries to feed your kids. I get it. I understand that, right? But that puts you in the criminal category. Why is that? Because you had the intent to deceive and to bring harm to other people for yourself. And that's selfish. And we have a hard time understanding that when the lines get blurred like that. I need to feed my kids. I'm going to sell drugs. I need to feed my kids. I'm going to rob a store. I need to feed my kids. I'm going to commit murder. I'm a sick-minded individual. I'm going to rape this woman. Okay? So we lie about all the things that support that mindset, that support that ideology, so that we can do whatever it is we want to do. Now, let me pivot just a little bit here and show why it's important to catch on to those types of things and what you can do about it. It's important to catch on to those types of things because in reality, the person, without even realizing that they're hurting, is hurting. You don't have to know where the pain came from or is coming from. You don't even have to know that you are hurting to know that you're hurting. And let me explain that. Some people don't know that they're suffering from PTSD. Some people don't know that they're suffering from fear of rejection, right? They just know that it doesn't feel right. They don't know the name of it. They can't define it, but it brings this paralyzing fear over them. Now, if you're the person and you're watching that and you see that this person's behavior is ripe with lies and deceit and all of these other things that go along with it, what I would ask that you do is confront them. As opposed to calling that person a liar, why don't you say, come here, let me talk to you. I've noticed that you do this quite often. Tell me what is hurting you. Think about what I just said. As opposed to calling a person a liar, why don't you say to them, what is hurting you? Because when you do that, you're going to get, boom, right to the heart of the matter. You're not going to call them a liar and make them feel worse because they know they lied. They know they lied. You ain't got to tell somebody that's lying to you that you lied to me. They know that. Push past all of that, see the humanity in the person, and say, look, what's hurting? Because that way you get to the root of it. That way you put that person on notice. Now, I'm not going to play your game. I'm not going to reinforce your negative mindset by calling you a liar. And so you'll subconsciously double down and continue this behavior. I'm going to come to you with love and get to the root of the matter, force you to confront yourself with that. And you may not get anywhere the first few times, but after a while, I guarantee that person starts like, why do you always say that to me? And then you can have that conversation and say, look, the behavior that you're exhibiting is rooted in hurt and pain. That's why you keep doing that. But when we don't do that, when we don't look past that lie and look at the hurt that is reinforcing, that's holding that up, we are enabling, check me out now, I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, but we're enabling that behavior. And I know that might be topsy-turvy for a lot of you, but think about what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying, not about who I am and what I am as far as a convicted murderer, whatever you want to call me, but just think about the words that I'm using here. And you're going to know that I'm right. You're going to know that I'm right. And the next thing that I'll say to you is this. When you start to pierce that and get to that hurt that that person is exhibiting, and they start to share that, you're going to see their behavior change. I had to go through this process by myself. I went through this process by myself because I didn't even realize what was going on with me until I started to examine the hurt and the pain that I was experiencing as a result of the death of my mother. And it made me look at all the other things that were going on in my life. All those negative traits, the lying, the deceit, the manipulation, all those things that I was doing in my life to people that I love and care about. It wasn't until I recognized those things that I was doing that I said, no, that's enough. And I don't want anybody to have to go through that alone. That's a lot. But once you do that, once you confront that person that you love, or if you're somebody that's going through this and you have to go through it alone, I'm sorry for you, but you still got to fight and push through and change that behavior. Because once you do that, then you're going to get to the point to where I'm at, and well, I'm continuing to strive, but you're going to get to the point to where I'm at. And then you're going to start to want to be a responsible person, a productive person, someone that gives and contributes as opposed to someone that takes and manipulates. You understand what I'm saying? And if you don't understand now, you will. Just give it a chance, right? Just wanted to drop that on y'all real quick, so that everybody can understand what it means. That warning sign right there is serious. Pay attention to that, but push past that and try to help the person that you observe that's doing it, okay? People that lie are open to the criminal mindset. Don't have to be in prison, y'all. But everybody that lies is not a criminal. Keep that in mind, too. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, the crime critic. Peace, y'all.